During June 3rd and 4th, 2019, the Monetary Policy Committee assessed the recent macroeconomic developments and the outlook in its meeting today. It voted unanimously to reduce the policy repo rate by 25 basis points and also to change the stance of monetary policy from neutral to accommodative. At the outset, the MPC noted that global economic activity has not been able to sustain the improved performance seen in the first quarter of the calendar 2019 in the face of deepening slowdown in trade and manufacturing, which has impacted advanced and emerging market economies alike. Inflation remains below the target in several economies. In advanced economies, incoming data for second quarter of 2019 point to loss of momentum relative to the first quarter. In the major emerging market economies, economic activity has either slowed or has contracted. It is in this context that the central banks across the world have moved to an accommodative stance in setting monetary policy. Financial markets have been unsettled by the acrimonious US-China trade tensions. Crude oil prices remain volatile, reflecting evolving demand-supply conditions and geopolitical concerns. Most emerging market economy currencies have depreciated against the US dollar. On the domestic front, the MPC noted that the May 31st, 2019 data release of the National Statistical Office showed that the GDP growth for 2018-19 has been placed lower by 20 basis points at 6.8% relative to its February 28th estimate. In Q4 18-19, GDP growth decelerated sharply to 5.8%, down from 6.6% in Q3 and 8.1% a year ago. On the supply side, agriculture and allied activities contracted while manufacturing activity weakened sharply. Service sector growth accelerated, although construction activity slowed down markedly. Looking ahead, the Indian Meteorological Department has predicted that the southwest monsoon rainfall, that is June to September 2019, is likely to be normal at 96% of the long period average. Taking into account these factors, the impact of the recent policy rate cuts, and assuming normal monsoon in 2019, the MPC revised the path of CPI inflation to 3 to 3.1% for H1 2019-20 and 3.4 to 3.7% for H2 of 19-20. The MPC also revised the projection of GDP growth for 19-20 to 7% in the range of 6.4 to 6.7% for H1 and 7.2 to 7.5% for H2 of 2019-20, with risks evenly balanced. In the area of payment and settlement systems, it has been decided to do away with the charges levied by the Reserve Bank for transactions processed in the RTGS and NEFT systems in order to provide an impetus to digital funds movement. Banks will be required in turn to pass these benefits to their customers. Instructions to banks in this regard will be issued within a week. Finally, with the usage of automated teller machines, that is ATMs, growing significantly, it has been decided to set up a committee involving all stakeholders under the chairmanship of the Chief Executive Officer, Indian Banks Association, to examine the entire gamut of ATM charges and fees. The committee is expected to submit its recommendations within 2 months of its first meeting. So far as RBI is concerned, the RBI remains committed to ensure that we have a robust, well-functioning NBFC sector, and the RBI will not hesitate to take whatever steps are required to ensure that financial stability is not adversely impacted in any manner by any development. The revised circular will be issued very shortly. It has taken some little more time than we anticipated because it involved examining various legal issues. It involved very detailed and wide-ranging stakeholder consultations, and then internally we had to examine it in detail. It has taken a little more time than we had originally anticipated, but it will be issued very shortly, and very shortly means in a matter of maybe next 3 or 4 days. You see, Jalan Committee is working independently. I do not interfere or I do not involve myself in any manner in the working of that committee. The committee is working on its own in an objective manner, and the rest of it which is appearing in the papers, I also see it in the papers. I am not aware. So let the committee of the report come. They needed some extra time because it needed we had initially given 3 months, but the committee required some more time and we have accepted that.